Sourci, we're in the HQ. Giovanni, what's your last name?
Pino.
Giovanni Pino.
Very Italian.
It is very Italian. As I said when I first met you, Don Juan Giovanni. You know who Don Juan Giovanni is?
No idea.
He's like a famous gigolo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, why not? Getting the Lambo. Why
That's
not?
right, yeah.
Yeah, beauty. So how long has this business been around?
Funny enough, we celebrated 5 years a few weeks ago. I didn't even have it in my calendar. Someone had to tell me that.
Yeah, just pull it so it's like a fist away.
A fist away.
Yeah, just so audio's good.
Someone had to tell me that it was our 5 years coming up a few weeks ago because, it all goes so quick and you need to obviously celebrate those milestones. I think it was, 90% of businesses don't survive the first 5 years. So huge achievement, but just went right by me.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah.
And how'd you celebrate?
We didn't actually do that much. We just did I think we did a nice feed for everyone with the team, a few drinks, nothing great. Probably should have done a bit more, to be honest, but everything's so fast at the moment. I guess everyone's so busy that, I think the team's just grateful that we're in a good space and that we've got so many other celebrations. We just did our networking event on the rooftop on Friday or Thursday, which went really well. So there's always something kind of going on, but yeah, it's a huge milestone.
So Sourci essentially and sister companies essentially setting up the supply chain for businesses and helping them with product development, packaging and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there more?
We're moving into the distribution side because that's the next step to help our clients. We have a lot of partners that we work with where we introduce them to potentially like a design service or digital ads, whatever it might be. But really our focus is on helping brands develop products in-house. We have a lot of resources that do this and then developing the supply chain and then managing the supply chain and trying to get the most out of it for our customers as well.
Why did you choose to do that?
Great question. I wouldn't say that I fell into it. I think that I tried to solve my own problem, which was before I had Sourci, I had another business. It was a printing company. And we used to print promotional products. And a lot of those products came from overseas and we were using local printers at the start.
What kind of print? What kind of product?
Banners, water bottles, USBs, like wind flags, just a whole bunch of anything that you can, like would go to a marketing manager of a bigger company.
Like sign writing.
Yeah, but that's old school. But like would go to a marketing manager and if you think about a marketing manager of a larger company's role, they've got in terms of their suppliers, they've got, someone who does their branding, someone who does their paid ads. There'll be someone who does SEO for them. And then in print's not just one print partner. Generally, it's someone who does promotional products and there's someone who will do your banners and someone who will do your merchandise or your apparel. So for us, our value proposition was we'd go to a marketing manager and say, instead of you having 5 different suppliers you have to deal with for your printing, you just deal with us. Which opened the door to us kind of sourcing new products all the time because the marketing manager would be like, hey, can you do this? And when you're 23 and you're self-employed and you're hungry, you'll say yes to almost anything. So we started to dabble in sourcing products overseas. And if you think about, let's say like a water bottle, it's not really heavy product development. Most of the time you're grabbing an existing product, or almost all the time when it comes to printing and promotional products, and you're just putting their logo on it, right? So it's really low risk.
It's a pretty white label.
Yeah, right? But we still had trouble. We had suppliers who misquoted a spec, or us, we didn't understand the process properly, or I didn't know the difference between USD FOB and AUD landed, and I couldn't work out the true price.
What's the difference?
USD FOB is US dollars, free on board, so it means that they don't pay for the freight. AUD is Australian dollars, and landed is when it's delivered to you. So that's your true cost. When something's AUD landed, for us, that's our real cost of product.
So is that like door to door?
Door to door,
yeah,
right?
Okay.
So there's just a lot of lessons learned. And once, we started to, that business was more like a lifestyle business. I was able to pay the bills, learn about how to deal with clients. I was really young when I was doing that, 21, 22, when we first got started. And I was just trying to keep my head above water most of the time. And we got really not lucky. I mean, a lot of people put a bit of trust into us. And again, print products aren't hard, but we were able to work with some really amazing bigger brands who gave us some opportunities, which were great.
Like what? Or that confidential?
So we worked with the second biggest caravan manufacturer called New Age Caravans. So they're one of our biggest clients. And then we did a lot of work for Lifestyle Communities, which is an ASX listed company, retirement village. Then we worked with IDP, which is another, I think, listed company, an education company as well. So significant
And you were
size.
doing all like the sign, but not the
They don't
promotional
really,
materials.
Promotional was a lot bigger, booklets, stuff like that. So yeah, we kind of built a good foundation of like clients, but my business partner, who I still have a great relationship with, we just wanted different things in the business. I wanted what I have now. I wanted a big team, which sometimes I regret. I wanted the big office. I wanted more, and he was happy.
You wanted the madman lifestyle.
Yeah, a little bit. I wanted to feel like that it was bigger than me, and I didn't feel like that when I was doing that business. And print was, wasn't something that I was overly passionate about, right? And I remember just saying to him, like, I think I want to go do something else. And he was just like, yep, all good. Just keep me informed with what you're doing. And that's kind of how Sourci started. Was I looked at, what would it be like if you could develop and manufacture a product overseas, but you dealt with someone locally and the risk was taken out of it, but you got the benefit still. So it's not like you're dealing with a wholesaler and you're paying through the nose and there's no customization on the product. You almost get to, as if you're dealing with a factory, and we're like a factory representative here. And we fucked up quite a bit because the way we built the original, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The way that we originally built the business model was built on transparency. So we were acting like almost like most sourcing companies, which is like an agent. But the client still pays the factory. The client knows who the factory is, and then we just clip the ticket.
Yep.
What we found was there's very little honor in dealing with the first clients that we had. That once they had that first order done, they would either say we're just going to go to the factory now directly, or they try to renegotiate our fee. And our fee was really like small; it was 10%. So if you think about it, like someone trying to say you're not worth the 10% we pay you to manage our entire supply chain, it really created a bit of a crossroads within our business. And after maybe 2.5 years of trying to make that work, we just swapped and we just said no more. What we're going to do is we're going to manage the entire process. And I guess the problem with what we did the first time is when you let someone into the supply chain, right, like a client, especially some of the small businesses that we worked with, they wanted to know every little detail, right? So they'll be like, tell me about the factory, ask them this, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden that process of developing a product takes 2 or 3 more months and a lot more resources and people's time, because they have so much transparency that they can ask what they want to ask, even if some of the points of information they want aren't even relevant to the success
because they're just trying to learn.
Yeah, exactly right. Which was the service we provided, right? So it's not their fault; it's our fault that we created that. So once we saw that there wasn't long-term value in that business model, because we had one really big client who I won't mention who it is, place a huge order with us. It was like $500,000. We developed their product for them. Everything went incredibly well. We were high-fiving. They ordered $500,000.
I bet it. $500,000 order. That's huge.
And a $50K management fee, which was sick. And then next order, they came back and said, all right, we're going to pay you $5,000 to do it all over again. And we just said, no, you've signed an agreement that says 10%. They just said, no, like this is it. And we're going to go to the factory. And the factory.
Oh, because they knew the factory. They could just go, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly right. And even though we had an agreement that kind of stopped that, it didn't stop that, right? And the
because they're like, unless you're actually going to chase it up,
the factories sell to the brand. So the factory knows who the brand is. The factory was loyal to us. Like they didn't want to, but then we just said like, that's fine. You just take over. And once we lost that one client, and once they did that to us, we completely changed our business model. And the benefit to the customer and the benefit to us in the new model is we sell the product to them. So we become almost like their supplier, their manufacturer. But it means that we take full responsibility for the product. So once it arrives, it's our product insurance that covers it. We ensure the quality of the product. So if there's any defects, it's not, we'll help you work it out with the factory, which generally there isn't, but it's actually us taking on the responsibility of it as well. But it means we can go through the process a lot quicker because we're making internal decisions, right? Sometimes you give someone who's inexperienced, you give them the option of 2 types of packaging, right? And you know which one's better for them and that you should choose, but you know that you have to kind of give them the options. You lose 2 weeks where they go, well, I want to see one of each, or can you tell me what the difference is? What's the price? What's the MOQ difference? Blah, blah, blah. We make those decisions to help in the benefit of our clients, but to help them get through the process a lot quicker as well. So it's actually like a win-win for both sides. But now the retention of our customers is much higher and their experience is actually much better when working with us.
Yeah, because it's easy.
It's just easy, right?
That's what you want. Because then at the end of the day, do they come to you with, hey, I want to do this kind of business? Or are they like, hey, I want to do a business, and then people work through that with you of what would be good?
No. That's so, we've moved away from working with, and we built other services to help. Like the whole intention of the company once we started was, I want to help every business, right? I don't want to be, you can only work with us if you have this, if you're this size or anything else. I wanted to, because that's just, that means we're not creating the right solutions for different size clients. But under the new business model that we have, the startups, the smaller businesses, they just don't work. Like they're not of the right size because it takes 6 months of work, right, to develop. It doesn't matter if it's 100 T-shirts or 100,000 T-shirts, it's the same amount of work. Sometimes it's even more when it's lesser quantity because you have to find suppliers that are willing to work to lower quantities.
Yeah, definitely.
So we kind of figured out that they need to be of a certain size to work with us, but then we've built other solutions to help smaller clients. So we have a service called Set Up and Go, and it's where we help a client pretty much. They give us their brief. We find them suitable suppliers. We audit the suppliers. We put in place contracts with the suppliers. We get all their pricing sorted. We present to them all the options on who these suppliers are, and then we introduce them to that supplier and they can work with them directly, and then they get access to our course, and the course will teach them what to do past that point. Because a lot of the time, the thing people struggle with is, especially the startup small businesses, they just don't know who to work with, right? And they can't tell a good supplier from a bad supplier, right? So if you go on Alibaba and you type in, boot manufacturer or boots, their top results are generally paid, like Google Ads, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't really help you if you don't know what to look for. So for us, we know that we want suppliers that export to countries like the US, Australia, and Europe. We know that we want suppliers that are ISO or CE certified. We want suppliers that have a long track record of working in that industry on that product. We want suppliers that have, QA and QC departments as well.
And for people that don't know these terms,
quality assurance, quality control. So you know that process is in place to make sure the products are produced correctly as well. So we look at suppliers more holistically and not just kind of like, do they speak English well? Are they the first 3 links on the Alibaba profile? So we're helping them kind of get through the part of understanding what the true cost of their product is, putting in agreements with those suppliers. We put in place what's called a triple N agreement: non-compete, non-circumvent, non-disclose, which is like an NDA here, but over there it's a bit more rigid, and it means that they can't, if you've gone to the effort of, you've got the next best, product, whatever it might be, and you're sitting there going, shit, how do I give this to a supplier to quote and make sure they don't steal my information or who I am, steal my product design?
Well, wouldn't it just happen anyway?
No.
Like even though you have these documents, like how are you even going to follow that up?
It can, but it creates a lot less of an opportunity because the China legal system is still legitimate, right? It just takes a lot longer to go through. But as well, we look at suppliers, we look at like their actual background. So have they had criminal proceedings or court proceedings against them for IP or anything to do with burning customers or like pretty much phoenixing their company or going bankrupt or whatever.
It's phoenixing a company.
Like you dissolve your factory and then come back under a slightly different name. Okay. Pretty much. So
how do you do that kind of background check?
Builders do it here. There's a website, a Chinese website where you can pay to search to see
like criminal records.
Yeah, pretty much. You put in the director's details, you put in the company name as well, and it'll give you kind of a background into who they are.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like we go that extra step to make sure that it's not always just who can make the product at the best price. Like you just want to know that the people you're working with are good people on the other side.
So true. So true.
You do that, you're twice as likely to be succccessful.
Yeah,
you go for the cheapest supplier.
You can have a long-term relationship.
Exactly right.
Because if you can't trust them, it's like anything.
Yep.
It's one
Same
and done.
as working with someone here, right? It's not that different.
No.
So yes, we built out that model to help service those smaller people, and then again we have a course now where the one thing with the startups is most of them it's a side hustle, right? Like it's a passion. So they've got the time to give up to invest in it, but they don't normally have the money. So the course is what teaches them how to go through. It's the same process that we use here. We teach them and we give them the resources to help them as well. So anyone who goes, well, I can't afford the $60,000 to spend with the supplier to work with you guys, but I do have the time to learn the entire process and then at the same time start reaching out to suppliers and working on their business. That works really well. So we figured out how to kind of create a service to help service every type of size client.
Fair. And then with that, what's the retention like of the people that do that kind of course, get up and running, and then come back for the larger scaling side of what you offer? Do they do that?
I don't know yet. So the course has only been live for 3 months.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is I think it's like 10% of 20% of courses actually not get completed, but people only complete about on average 20% of a course or something like that. And I looked at our analytics of the course, and people are getting through a fair whack, 60-70% of it, which is really, really good to see. So it means that they're consuming what's being offered there is useful knowledge.
Have you made it concise?
I tried to.
Good.
I mean,
because there's so many courses out there that run through the same thing like 20 times over, and you're like, dude, stop pumping me up. I've bought it.
We yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. No, we looked at our process, and the course is literally just taking you through how to find a supplier, how to communicate with that supplier, how to get your quotes, how to do sampling, how to manage production, how to organize your shipping and logistics. And then at the end, it has like some extra modules on our partners have put together on like how to scale your ads or how to get started in that side as well. So it's kind of like as you're going through the process yourself, if you're doing this and you're speaking to suppliers, it's kind of taking you through that process, which I think is really helpful. But yeah, we've only been doing it for a few months, and it's got a good uptake at the moment. But I'm really interested to see if, and we were talking about this before. You don't know where the economy's going at the moment. To be honest, I think it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better.
Yeah, well, it's depending on like when's the US dollar going to crash.
Yeah.
No, it's a real thing to be worried about.
And what does that mean for here, right? Yeah. But I think it will stop some people from, the people who do the course, they're not the established businesses, they're the side hustles and startups. So it depends on if people are going to be, and this isn't just for our business, it's almost anyone, like where's everyone's priorities going to be in the next 6 months? Is it about, focus on their day-to-day and trying to keep cost of living down and getting through, or are we not going to feel it as bad as we think, and people can continue to start? Because if you think about it, like all these entrepreneurs, these side hustles, that's where all the innovation and the next round of businesses, and that's what boosts the economy eventually as well. That might stop for the next 6 to 12 months while people are just trying to survive.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we got the rise of AI as a part of this, so it's now everything's so much easier to do. And for those young cats that take advantage of it, which I know there's heaps of people doing that already, like, ChatGPT is just the beginning, really, especially with all the other, like, I don't know.
Do you use it?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I've been going hard. It's fucking great. Like, why wouldn't you
writing emails for you?
Oh, dude, have you seen Merlin?
No, what's Merlin?
Oh, dude, so it uses ChatGPT, but it's on, like, your Chrome browser.
Oh, it's dangerous.
And then it will read your emails and auto-prompt the response, and all you got to do is just edit it.
But where was this 5 years ago?
Yeah. Like uni. Like, I mean, I don't know if you saw Jordan Peterson's like speech about ChatGPT.
No,
he was like, it's going to render universities obsolete within 5 years.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, if you think about it.
Well, like, there's nothing in the university system that has any kind of modern teaching practices that are actually better than that.
Yeah, they can answer any question on prompt in detail and
just
help.
Essays.
And help. Yeah.
You don't need to write.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean,
not scary.
I'm keen. I'm keen for it. I do think it's gonna disrupt the world. Obviously,
I think it already has in some ways.
Yeah, but like in big way.
Yeah, I think once people see when it starts taking jobs, I mean, I think that's when it's going to really change. Like thinking about call center workers, or there's a company, and I think they're a great company. It's called Gorgeous.
What do they do?
They do website chat for like e-commerce brands. I think any website, right? So they'll hire people, put them on to respond to like website queries or people shopping.
They're over. They're gone.
Done. Or they pivot quick and they replace every single person they have with ChatGPT because they've got the brand, they're established. They can set that up.
But that's not necessarily the jobs. That's the business.
Yeah.
Which obviously good on those people if they move correctly through this time period. And I think that's the big things, like those that adopt it and figure it out with their supply chain. Like, do you use Zapier and like have a bunch of your systems automated?
Yeah.
What kind of things do you have automated?
So we went on the very costly and I'd say somewhat regretful journey of building our own CRM.
Yeah, silly.
What a fuck up that was, honestly. I don't know. I just get these things in me. I'm like, no, we're going to build this thing and it's going to do this. And 2 years later, we use it, which is great, but it took almost 2 years to get the first version where we're happy with it up and running. But in that, it's connected to like our Xero account, our HubSpot account.
I mean, that's
they all
good.
talk. Like it's really useful. It's so custom built for what we did do that eventually I hope I can package it and sell it as a solution for other companies to manage their supply chain. But it needs so much more work to do that as well. But that's probably as integrated as we get, because before that we were using spreadsheets for 4 years in this business.
So what is that automated in terms of connecting with all those things?
Pulls like contacts from HubSpot into the CRM system to create a new client profile once we make a sale. Then it pulls all the invoicing history for customers through Xero as well. Then it also pulls, what else does it do? It pulls, so we have like scope forms. So scope forms are like the brief that a client will sign off on and what we're going to work towards. Really long document. Pretty much says there's a lot of back and forth in emails when we're getting clients to sign on. They're asking questions. There's stuff that they want to know. And what it does is it's pretty much like what we agree to work towards. So it captures all the project information. It captures all the client information. It captures the scope of work that we're agreeing to. And all that gets pulled into the platform as their product and project details as well. So it pulls everything that we need across. And then that CRM system has pre-populated tasks for every part of the process we're in. And then the guys are just getting there every day. They know what tasks they need to complete for each project. They leave notes. They communicate with each other through there. So it does work really well. It's just, it was a way bigger investment. I wish I wasn't like this, but I learned through experience. And it can be really expensive to learn through experience.
Yes.
And this is one of the ones where I go, God, I did that in the worst way possible.
What could have you done better?
Not done it. I'll go back and change that. But I think my lack of experience of understanding how to build a platform, right? I hired 2 developers and I just thought, I tell you what I want and you build it, and it doesn't work like that. We now have a guy named Adam who's a product owner and business analyst, and he looks at the way the systems in a business and then builds a platform in a way that's actually useful and intuitive to what the business does. So it's like when you've hired 2 developers and they're junior, because you want to save cost, and you're trying to get them to build a CRM system, but they don't understand what the business does. It's a lot of pressure to put on them because they think they're building what's right, and they technically are, but it's like, does it fit into what's really required, right? So, they build and I'm a very visual person, so they'll build a very pretty looking page with buttons and everything else, but like what happens beyond that step? What happens before that step? How does that information flow into a database? Where's that information kept? How can it be retrieved? What reports can you pull from it? None of that was thought of. It was just, I wanted to do this, and then when that happens, I wanted to do this, and they'll build it, but it doesn't really work in the way that you wanted it to. So hiring a business analyst to come in and understand the business, it's not just even about the CRM system. It's about how we store information, how we access information, where things are stored, how people are onboarded and offboarded. All that stuff needs to really be mapped out. And we're not huge, right? Like as a company, we're probably 30 staff here, another 15 overseas. We are growing, but you really need to have all those foundations worked out, because like anything, right, we scaled really quick through COVID just as business. We didn't have our operational processes ironed out enough, and things just went tits up. Like we had so many problems when we brought on so many clients, and I've seen it happen.
What kind of problems did you have to wade through?
Oh, just the service that we've originally built worked really well when we were working with a handful of clients.
Because you could like spend the time on everybody.
I could manage it as well. I could be across everything. And I think when we looked at what scale looked like in our business, we were way off with, conversions, what a good customer looks like, what they spend. So, we were at one point bringing on 25 new businesses in 1 month, which is quite a lot, right? 25.
That's a lot.
It's a fucking lot. Now
for 30 people.
We do, back then it was even 30 people, right? Now we do like 8 to 10, maybe 12. We're really selective with who we bring on at the moment, and we've brought on some really fucking cool clients.
And you're trying to bring on some more heavy hitters.
Yeah, exactly right. Guys, like high retention, high spend, get the most, because those ones get the most value from our service as well, right? Because they're usually at a point where they've scaled to maybe a team of 5 or 6. No one in that company though does supply chain, because it's not a role that makes money. So generally, if you think of like an e-commerce brand, you hire someone to do your website, your marketing, your paid ads. You hire someone who's like, trying to be your wholesale manager, selling you into other retailers and brands. Generally, the supply chain person is the founder, because they originally set it up, right? And you're taking that responsibility off them. And what we've been able to do really well with like one of our bigger clients is match their quality of product, it may be even the same or cheaper price, but take what would be one person's full-time role off them and manage it for ourselves as well.
And it's cheaper for them? Or
yes,
about the same? Because are you still doing 10%? Is that still like your going margin or?
No, we're now closer to like 25-ish.
Yeah, okay.
Because we've got to cover our overheads in here, and at the end of the day, there needs to be enough left over to make it all worthwhile.
Fair. So look, I have nothing against people making money.
Exactly.
It's more like how do you actually establish and have that communication be all above board with everybody? Do they know the margin that's in place, or you just say this is how much it costs? We've put they know you put the margin on cost on top, and they're like, all right, we can still make money with that.
Exactly right. So generally, we'll get clients to tell us what their target prices are, and the reason isn't so we can come in 10 cents cheaper than what they ask. It's because we've got apparel's such a big industry for us, or it's our biggest category. We've got like 8 people working in it. If someone gives me a price for a hooded jumper for $8, I'm going to tell them no. Like it's not even us.
It'll just be shit.
Yeah, or it's just not possible, right?
Fall apart.
And that's the thing. We've got
$20, 10, $20,
15, $20, but that's, we have that knowledge now, right? Like we've got a CRM system that has all these completed projects, that has pricing against them. And we've just got the right knowledgeable, talented people. I can get a quote back from one of our suppliers in like 4 hours as well.
That's huge.
So we do free feasibility for clients just to make sure that we can actually help them. So we usually ask for a target price. I can tell them if it's doable or not. We've turned clients away where I just don't think we're aligned because they want it too cheap. But generally they're just trying to, it's like someone asks you how much you want to pay and you always put 30% less. So then they come back and they're 20% more. You're happy, they're happy, whatever it is. But the way that it works on is we charge in 2 phases. One is like an onboarding and feasibility phase. So sometimes we'll do free feasibility on 1 or 2 items to show them that we can do the product at the price they need. And then for us, we make sure that we definitely can deliver against it. And we do that at no cost. But if they have, a full range of 10 or 12 products, the first step is to get it all quoted up, present the pricing, timeline, sample costs, all that information. So that's the first stage of like getting them onboarded, doing all the pricing, showing them the landed costings, get everything in place, and then going, yep, that's great. Then the second way we charge is the development cost, because it's still 3 months worth of work after they say, yes, the pricing's good, to go through the first round of samples, then the second round of samples, then generally maybe a third round, or you go to pre-production samples. So let's say samples take 3 weeks and it takes a week to get here. We check everything in here with our garment tech. Like, let's say if it's apparel, we've got a garment technician who will do all the measurements to make sure everything's to spec. And we write our fit comments, and then we give it to the customer, and then the customer will check it as well. So we charge about $3,000 for the first fee, then about $5,000 for the second. In the second fee, $500 or $1,000 is given as a credit towards sampling, so we don't have to keep invoicing people as we go. And then $2,000 is used as a first order budget credit. So really, we're not charging them anything for our services besides a small fee at the front and then a very small fee in the second part, because what we want is to get to commercialization. We want them ordering regularly, but we do need to be smart where if we did 3 or 4 months worth of development work and the client goes, well, this is great, but my old suppliers come back and it's easier for me to work with them, we haven't lost all that investment and resources in getting set up.
That'd be so annoying.
It happens though, right? It does happen.
3 months of work, and then they're like, nah, I'm out of here. Thanks for all the IP. Thanks for all the work.
Yeah, literally, right? And there's no commitment from them. Like they don't actually, I can't force anyone to order. And like in terms of our values, integrity is our number one value. I wouldn't feel comfortable saying to someone like, order or else, if for whatever reason their circumstances change for a legitimate reason, then that's fine. But generally,
you don't want to be skinned in the process.
Yeah, we just don't want to lose money every time we try to help someone. But once they're ordering, like in that first feasibility stage, at the very start, they know exactly what the unit price is. They know what the MOQ is, and that has our margin built in. That's usually their product, their packaging, delivery, everything else, our fees, everything all in one, just one unit price. So they're happy, right? They know that before they go into the development stage or sampling or we do any more work, they go, yep, this works for us. And I think that's the best way for us to do our process.
Yeah. So you've obviously been to China a lot as well.
A few times, yeah.
What's it like?
Times. It's funny, my business partner's on the way there now. I love the people. I love the culture in some ways. They're very hospitable in terms of, like, they are, right? Like, you get there, they'll have, if you go there to see a factory or whatever it might be, they'll have a driver come pick you up from the airport, because it's not easy to get around as a Westerner over there. I'd assume they would have sometimes the same feelings here. Everything's blocked, right? Like there's no WhatsApp, there's no Facebook or Instagram. There's no, it's really hard to
Going heavy on the WeChat over there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Dude, I got blocked on WeChat when I went to Hong Kong.
What'd you do?
I added like 80 people in a day.
And what, they blocked you for that?
Yeah.
Did you know them or?
Yeah, well, I was at like a blockchain expo.
Oh, no way.
And then I added all these people in a day. And then the next day I went to Shanghai and my account was blocked.
Really?
And then I go to like the concierge and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to explain to them what happened, and I needed somebody that had a verified long-term WeChat account to then verify my account, and they're like, no, because obviously their payments all like attached to that. So they're like, fuck no, dude, I don't know who you are. And I was like,
liability.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting.
So I don't have WeChat.
No, I'll see if I can get my office manager to get you unblocked. It's true. Their whole life.
4 years in the making.
their whole life is on that. Payments, everything.
It's fucked. But like, it's proper like centralized control system.
Yeah, it is. It's
very admirable. Well. Like, shout outs to the CCP. You've created a great piece of software.
Controlling software. But no, I've been there a few times. I mean, I have like we built an office over there that actually looks just like this office. And that
why the choice to make it look the same?
I think I loved the idea. I wanted them to feel like what we'd feel like when we walk into the office as well, which I think is really important. And we've got a beautiful office like in a skyscraper in the city in the middle of Shenyang. It's a bit of a different location.
Shenyang, where's that?
Yeah, it's in the north. It's actually further past Shanghai, further north. It's kind of closer to Russia. We chose
near Beijing?
No.
Like, isn't Shanghai's down? Beijing's up, isn't it?
No. You're really testing my knowledge here. Yeah, I just know when we're more north. But we chose that location because it was cheaper to get resources out there, which was a good thing and a bad thing. Talent, staff.
Oh, okay.
At one point we had like 25 people in that office, and we cut it back down to about 12 or 13. And what we did was we thought, well, it's cheaper to have people in China, so we're going to have more people in China. Problem with that was we had no experts in here. So what changed was we used to have like an account manager here, and that account manager had to speak to the client, they had to deal with the factories, they had to work with the researcher overseas.
Yeah, keep talking.
Yep. They had to work with the researcher overseas, and it was a pretty hard job, right? Like, because you need to be skilled at being customer facing and building rapport, but then you also need to be able to speak to factories and understand product development and manufacturing, right? And we had really high staff turnover because it's a unicorn role, right? It was too hard. And we realized that doing that, we weren't really being experts in anything. We're just facilitating people's orders or trying to help them develop products. So we stopped growing the China office. We actually took some steps back. And then we started to align on our pods here. So like, for instance, apparel, as I've spoken about, you have what is a product manager, which is your account manager. But then you'll have a production manager, and that's someone with the technical background, right? So someone who's got 10 years of apparel experience. But the product manager will be someone who's come from an account management background who might not have any experience in apparel. Because really, if you're a good account manager, you're just doing project management, you're able to communicate clearly, and your production manager is the one who's going to give you the right information to communicate. So we kind of pivoted and started creating pods internally here, and we realized that we didn't need the team as big in China, and their roles actually changed a lot, where they're not dealing with the factories as much anymore. They're really there to find new suppliers, go to trade shows, do quality control inspections, and then help with some of the research and some of the other parts of the business as well. But yeah, going back to your question, it's definitely not a holiday location, China. Like, it's not like you go there and you stay a few extra days there's some sightseeing stuff to do, but it's definitely like, it's a very industrial country, and you feel that, right? You feel like everyone's just working all the time. And then
that's how they built up.
That's it. They're still doing it now.
They were starving.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we don't want to be doing that no more.
The best motivation ever, is it?
Yeah, legit. Oh, it's wild. They have a rich history.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Pretty sad history in some ways.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's rich, like, because it's, it's like 6,000 years or more.
Been around forever, yeah.
Probably more. I mean, especially when you start to look into like ancient apocalypse theory and stuff like that. I don't know if you've seen that.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, let me give you a quick. I've actually said this to a few people now. So essentially, the idea is in the Netflix documentary now. It's like a TV series with Graham Hancock.
Yeah, the guy was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah. You heard it?
Yeah, I watched like the first episode of it.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So the theory is essentially there was a big meteoroid shower about 12,500 years ago, caused a great flood around the world. The equator seemed to be all right. They built all these huge structures that tested the time, but they found underground cities and all that to use as further proof of the narrative that they were going underground because the meteor shower like kept happening over years or a period of time. And we had a high level of expertise and experience in a different way of technology.
Different technology, right?
Yeah. So instead of us thinking how we think of how we do our engineering these days. Like the idea is potentially it's around more like sound frequency and vibrations.
I've seen that, vibration.
And more like a quantum physics mindset that we're now like going down the pathway. But, it always goes with, well, where the fuck's the proof?
Yeah.
And there is a bit of that. There is proof, but it's like, where the tools, where the things, where they're using those sounds. How they do it.
Tesla say like everything has to do with Fibonacci bands and vibrations?
Well, he was like, if you to understand God, you have to understand frequency.
Yeah,
something.
I remember something like that. Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, he the idea of free energy was what he was working. Do you know why he couldn't keep doing it?
Because he was getting sued, wasn't he?
I mean, probably. But the main reason why he didn't have the money to be able to keep doing it is because when he first did the alternative current, he sold it to the person that was doing, the industrial fella.
Yep.
And at first he was supposed to get a royalty, but then there was tough times. So then he was like, oh, don't worry about the royalty. We'll just do a one-off fee. That's what the industrial person offered him. And because of that, he had some money for some stuff at the start.
But he couldn't afford
because he was focusing on things that didn't necessarily make these industrial humans a lot of money, they stopped funding him for other projects.
Yeah. Did they save his brain or something like that?
I don't know.
Is he preserved somewhere?
I hope so.
You'd think so.
Bring him back to life.
Elon Musk would have bought him by now.
Elon, we know you're hard again.
Injecting a bit of his DNA into Elon.
That'd be wow. Imagine. Dude, I can't believe they've actually cloned things.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild.
It's starting to get there as well. I think they did one with I know China's been caught doing some dodgy shit like that. Like they
Of course they have.
It was like a monkey and a human. They did a crossbreed. And then they're going to harvest the organs so that they can give it to a person. Yeah.
Human. I mean, it makes sense because we're like, but it's still not. They made a woolly mammoth.
Yeah. How cool is that?
That's so cool.
Bring it back. Dinosaurs. Not sure about dinosaurs, but.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, but I don't want to like pterodactyls cruising around Melbourne right now. Like
that's the last thing we need after COVID.
Imagine just smashing through your window. like really?
Dinosaurs. It'd be like Mad Max.
Yeah, dude.
You need the Tesla Cybertrucks.
Dude.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind one.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully they come out. But all right, you moved into construction. How did that process take place? Because I fucking love interior design. Like the fact that this place looks New York as hell.
Yeah.
I first walked in, I was like, dude, these windows are sick.
Yeah, it's pretty. Like anything, to be honest, Ali and I, Ali's my business partner.
Is it just you two?
Just us two.
Yeah, cool.
We never raised money. We're really grateful to be where we are. And we've, there's been some hard times, and it's like you're grateful to have. I need a business partner. I don't think I could ever do this or any business by myself. I really wouldn't want to. I love having someone to share it with.
Are you type person that just calls people up, dude, we just did this thing?
Yeah, legit. Get each other G'd up. Like it's nothing better than, they say it's lonely at the top. There's nothing better than sharing something with someone. For me, right? Like
I agree.
Especially success. Like it's one of the best feelings to sit there at a dinner or to reminisce on where you came from or how good things are now, and especially in the tough times, right? You need someone who's going to G you up a bit and tell you that it's not that bad. And, sometimes I'll do that to him and other times he'll do that to me. But with the construction stuff, we kind of just fell into it. Like, we ended up supplying some engineering flooring for a client because we get so many diverse leads because our marketing is very general. We got an inquiry for like some flooring, some cabinetry, and we did it and it went well. And we're like, okay, well, there's a niche here. Like builders need this service, but if a builder went to Sourci's website and they saw sex toys at the top or, like just all the other stuff.
This isn't for us.
Yeah, it's like they're going to go, am I really going to trust you with $250,000 worth of windows, whatever it might be? So we actually hired a guy named Sam as a BDM for Sourci. And probably in his second week, we said, okay, we're going to change. We're actually going to you're going to work in another company that's going to be construction and building materials. And he actually worked under the Sourci banner for like 3 months trying to do that. And it was just a fucking grind for the exact problem that I told you. Like builders were just like, I don't know what you do. This doesn't make sense. I've got my window supplier that I've been working with 10 years. Even though that window supplier might be shit and unreliable, they're still a window supplier and they know everything about the product.
And they had credibility.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So then we decided to, create a company called Procon, and Sam naturally became the general manager of that brand. He progressed, which is great. He owns equity in the business with Ali and I, so we gave him a piece. Yeah, exactly right. He's really rewarded and he's really motivated.
And does that mean, in terms of being able to do that strategically, does that mean you get to be a lot more hands off with it?
I did not work on it for 1 minute.
Oh, dude, that's great.
It's great, right? Yeah. Ali's more, so I run Sourci day to day. Ali's role is literally to manage the other investments and other brands that we're involved in, and to work on some new opportunities as well. So, and that's what his strong suit is, right? Like him and I had a really hard, not hard, in my head, I thought it was going to be a hard conversation about, like, we're almost like co-CEO of Sourci, but no company needs two CEOs, right? And I thought it was going to be a hard conversation, but I'm naturally more of a people person, I'd say, in the sense of like, I love having a team. I love building people up. I love that side where Ali's really good at seeing opportunities, building relationships and partnerships in a different way, where I don't really like that side too much.
Would you say he's a bit more strategic and you're a bit more like?
Yeah, I'd just say he just
friendly?
loves hunting deals and finding opportunities where I'd be like, no, I can't be fucked doing that. He'd be like, no, trust me, it's a good one.
Yeah, he loves the grind.
He's literally he's brought to the table some amazing opportunities that we've been able to jump onto. But
what are some cool like products that you've been able to find and source that you're like, dude, I didn't even know that shit exists?
So one brand that we actually own a bit of an equity stake in, it's called Noonie, and this project was a fucking nightmare. But I'm glad when they came to us, we were doing something proprietary, right? But it's an amazing product, and I think it's got so much opportunity to continue to grow. And what it is, it's a post, because I don't have a kid, I've got to make sure I get this right. What is it? What's it called after you have
Postnatal.
Postnatal. That's the one. I was going to say another word that started with P.
How old are you, by the way?
31.
Okay.
Yeah.
27.
Nice. Yeah. So I got to start. Yeah. Ali's just had his first child, so I feel like the pressure's on for me to.
Fair. I mean, you want your kids to be raised together, dude.
I said to him, hold off on the second one until I find someone so I can have my first. But
fair.
But yeah, it's a pad in it, because there's a lot of pain, obviously, if you do a natural birth after. And what it has in it has like
it's a pad.
A pad that
goes in close.
No, like down there.
Okay, yeah.
And in it has a thing that you squeeze, and it's like a ice pack. So it's a cooling sensation. So like for a mum, if you can imagine just having a child, you put this thing in, you pop the pad, and then it cools and soothes down there. And the people who've used, lucky enough, everyone around us is having kids, so we're just giving people it out to try as well. And the response is incredible, right? Like it's a product where it solves a really big problem, and it was really technically difficult to manufacture, because you have to go to a factory that does the ice packs, or those packs, and then you have to give them to the factory that does the pads, but then they need to calibrate their machinery in a certain way that it can actually make it without putting too much pressure, where it actually cracks the pad in the production process as well. So it took us a year and a half to make this product.
What do you mean cracks the pad?
Because the way it works is once you pop it and it creates a cooling sensation, it only works once, right?
Yeah, so you have to replace it.
No, so like you have to throw out the whole thing.
Oh, so you can't just like, it's not a little
use.
pocket or something?
No, one time use.
Oh, so it's like a nappy.
Yeah, pretty much like a woman's pad. Picture a woman's pad, one time use.
Yeah,
but it has a sachet.
But it sticks on like a pad.
Yeah, like picture like a woman's
woman's pad.
Yeah, exactly
like
right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So similar to that.
Oh, cool.
So one time use, right? So if you can't get, and we struggled, the factory almost gave up like 3 times, and we had to really problem solve and how to get it done. But it's such a proprietary product. It's such a unique product that we just need to figure out where to we're starting to figure out the sales channels, but I just know that that's such a huge opportunity there. So that's one of the cool things that we're involved in. There's some other stuff we're doing with some influencers that I'll be able to hopefully share more with later. But really, like, Ali's only spent the last 6 to 12 months kind of doing these side project things now. And we've
got some real product development, like creating things as opposed to just sourcing.
Yeah, owning the brand, I think is really important to us. You know, we're looking for partnerships with people who have experience that kind of count as ours. You know, for instance, like with the influencer side, they have got the sales channels and the audience, but they don't know how to develop or manufacture a product. So you think of like KSI and Logan Paul. You've seen Prime.
Yeah.
Fucking huge success, right?
Fuck yeah.
$250 million in revenue, I think, last year. Insane, right? Insane. Yeah, fastest growing brand to $1 billion value by an influencer.
Oh, dude, it's so good for the social media world in terms of just giving them credit. Like, because, you know, it's still a new industry. And what a social media influencer, what a YouTuber means. So for them to just crush it, just like
$0 in marketing costs, really, like just their brand, personal brands.
Yeah.
So think about that. Like, they have the sales channels there. There's a company that I think is doing a really great job of this in the US called Beach House Group. And they work with the Kardashians and some other people as well. And they're doing what I want to eventually get into, which is you find influencers that are passionate about a product. I don't want to work with anyone who just wants to throw their name to something. I want someone who actually cares about what they're doing. We'll build the infrastructure, the supply chain and the marketing and everything behind it. And they're the face. And then we split the equity, let's say. So it's for us, we're not just motivated by like, okay, well, are you going to order and spend money? It's like, how do we scale this up?
Yeah, you're doing it together.
Yeah, exactly right. Do we sell it? Do we flip it? Do we grow it?
Yeah.
Whatever the outcome will be.
I know someone doing a similar thing, but in the app space.
Yeah, like so working with
big influencers,
yep.
Whether they want to do a course or whether they want to sell products or whatever.
Are they local? Are they in Melbourne?
No, they've moved into Brisbane.
Oh, cool.
Do you want me to introduce you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's cool. It's cool. He's from Brazil, and he's essentially made like over 60 apps and is now working with some big cats.
Really?
And just has it dialed that he's. Yeah,
that's the way.
It's cool. It's a good way to do it because you're just providing something that they don't know how to do. And like you said, with someone that is the founder working on the supply chain, they may not be the best person to be doing it. They probably aren't. They just wanted to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Like you're giving them the opportunity to build a brand that if they want to step back, right? Like if you think about Prime now, Prime's bigger than Logan Paul and KSI, right? It'll be around forever. So it's like you want to be able to
have the launch pad.
Yeah, not just monetize your audience, but also build a brand that will exist longer than you. Because a good friend of mine, Tommy, he owns Zeus Group, which does it's probably one of Australia's largest talent management companies for influencers.
Yeah, okay.
And we talk about this all the time because he's in the same position where like he wants to help his influencers kind of grow and everything else. But he talks about how the time now of being hot, right, or a big influencer, it's starting to shrink and shrink and shrink because, you know,
it's harder to do as well.
One in 5 kids or something like that, when they got asked what they want to do in the future, when they got surveyed at primary school or high school, they said they wanted to be an influencer.
So far.
Can you imagine 20% of the professional workforce wants to do, you know,
be an influencer.
Yeah, and be on TikTok for full time. So, you know, the competition's going to get a lot harder in that sense. And I think people's attention spans are going to get a lot less and a lot less as well.
What are your thoughts about that for West? Because it's Western, right? What are your thoughts about that for Western civilization?
I think where I'd like to see it go, I think it's a hard question. Where I'd like to see it go is if people are passionate about one topic, right? Like if you are a fishing you live and breathe fishing and you want to produce great content and show people, and that builds people's interest and it builds the community within that industry and it helps bring new people to it and everything else, great, right? But there's a lot of people that just churn out shit. You know, and they want views, they want likes. You know, I got told about it. A friend who told an influencer, she wanted to grow her audience. She wasn't that big at that time. And he just said, every day for 30 days, post what you eat. Put it on YouTube, put it on TikTok. She got to like 150,000 TikTok followers, like 30,000 people on YouTube, 50,000 people on Instagram. I'm like, come on, like, do you know what I mean? There's no value in that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there could be. I mean, obviously you can build value around it, but in that prime form.
I don't know. I just think like, what is the value in knowing what this person eats every day?
Oh yeah, in terms of that, but you could develop it into like, hey, recipes, da-da-da.
I agree with that, right? But I just worry that there's a lot of people and that's when you get stupid challenges, and that's when you get people doing that other side, which is dangerous.
It's the attention for the sake of attention.
Yeah, right.
Which isn't too dissimilar to the entertainment industry. It's just what is entertaining has changed.
Exactly right. I think, if you look at what I hear is the next generation, they're not going to drink as much. They're not going to probably party as much. They're going to be more social in different ways, which I think is really good, right? But I think there's going to be a lot of insecure people whose identity and personal wealth or what they think of themselves is wrapped in around how many Instagram followers or likes or that other crap.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's huge. It's
someone's worth.
It's weird. Like people, and even just like seeing the marketplace of people interacting with that's something that they need to prove.
Yep,
is weird.
Yeah. Like, what do you think
about where it's going to go?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's. I mean, it looks like a big old psyop to me, to be honest. Like encourage your competitor country or your enemy country to want to just be influencers, whether it be through the TikTok algorithms or whatever it is. And then you have a whole society of people aspiring to be people that aren't producing anything.
Yep.
Great. China's got a whole bunch of jobs that they're going to create from you guys not doing anything.
Yep.
Because they're going to need to fill the gap there around the world.
Yep.
And you're probably going to be poorer as a country if you're not actually creating
that's very
tangible,
true.
real things.
Yeah, real resources.
Yeah, real resources. That being said, who knows? Because I don't know how digital we're going to get. Are we going to be metaverse living? So then all these digital things actually become more important than living in reality. But, beyond, shelter, food and stuff, like, are people going to be working in the metaverse as their daily? But I don't know. I think we still need stuff.
I like coming into the office.
Dude, I want to go the other way. Like, I like the flexibility that we've created in the world, that, like, you can work from home. You can work from Russia. You can, that's good. It's not good for every job, of course, but it's a cool thing.
Definitely.
Because especially for talent acquisition and all that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, I think we're in some dark times.
I think, like, China's TikTok versus our TikTok's very different. Like, theirs is like positive propaganda and educational videos, and then ours is like, who can twerk the best or.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird I've seen. Have you ever read Brave New World?
No.
So it's by Aldous Huxley. I think it was made in the 70s. And it essentially depicts a dystopian future where everything is short-term gratification.
Yep.
And nobody does monogamy. Nobody knows what marriage is. Nobody knows what love is. It's just a sexualized culture.
Yep.
And they've genetically modified, like, humans through propaganda and, lab babies. Nobody has natural births and stuff anymore. And you have the people that are like the A grade, and then you have the B grade people. And it's like full.
It's creepy.
It's kind of what you'd imagine with, what's the movie where they have Hunger Games?
Hunger Games,
that kind of
world, like the different classes. In a way.
Yeah, you have the different classes, but they're actually genetically modified to be that way. And then your working class are actually literally dumber because they've just been bred that way.
Really?
Yeah.
We are getting.
We are. It's available to do.
Like, you think, like, hopefully you have a long life, right?
Yeah, I hope so. 100 years. I want that letter from the king.
100%. He'll get a sore hand soon enough. I think everyone's headed that way. But you think about, I can't predict the future, right? Because we're in this weird part of
course not.
AI and there's, I think there's going to be a lot of. I was listening to, I think, Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell the other day.
God, they're hilarious.
Funniest two people, but they talk about some serious stuff sometimes.
They do.
But they were talking about exactly that, where they know that there's going to be just this huge wave of roles that will become redundant through technology.
Yeah.
And that's why they need, like, a universal wage to make sure that people have money, so they don't, that there isn't this class of people that just fall into extreme poverty.
Well, the issue is, where does freedom stand in that? Like, where does the actual notion of, like, real freedom? Because if you, like, right now, if you're on welfare, right?
Yeah.
The government can tell you things to do. And it's actually fair enough. If you're on the teat of the government to survive, they should be able to tell you, here's the healthcare that I need you to do. Yep. So then, then there should be some things, right?
It's like living at home with your parents.
Yeah. You get told.
They pay your rent, they give you pocket money, they call the shots.
Exactly. So if you have that on, like, mass scale, like, where does the value of freedom even come into? Because why would governments even have any kind of focus on maintaining that if the majority of your population is not living as free people?
Yeah, that's very true as well.
And then you go, fuck, man, that sounds like a feudal system.
And then you think this is too heavy, and then you start thinking of something else.
Yeah, let's go for some beers.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. You think about who's responsible to solve these problems.
Yeah, well, I don't know, us.
Yeah.
We're the people, right?
Yeah.
We're the people. Decentralized.
I'll leave it to you.
Well, you're doing your part.
Yeah, I hope so. Like, I love employing people. I love building culture and teams and all that side. You're
assisting people be financially sovereign.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Like,
it's hard to think, when, like, we hired our first person when I was like 26, and I had a really bad habit of hiring people younger than me. Like, it was this complex within me where I just couldn't imagine hiring and telling someone off who's older. Like, don't get me wrong, if it's a year older or whatever, but like,
like 10 years older.
10, 15. It's like, I felt like a kid at times.
Fair enough. How'd you get over that?
Just had to hire people. I hired one person. I was like, yep. I think, the problem with it is you hire people that are 22 or 23, 25, and then you're 28, 29. Like, you kind of create an environment where there's very little law and order in some ways, right? Everyone has good intentions, but there isn't that person with grey hair being like, no, we're not going to do that. Or, and don't get me wrong, some of the more senior people that I've hired are still, the relationships, I've still had them come to me, be open and have the same problems that a junior staff member will have, but they do carry themselves a little bit differently. And I think it creates a diversity in the office where people can see, I think, there's, I wouldn't call it entitlement, but the next generation, they're a lot more picky, if that makes sense. What they care about in an employer is very different, where, if someone who's been in the workforce for 30 years, they come into a place like this and they go, this is fucking amazing, like beautiful office, a lot of perks, lovely to work in. Well, other people, they want they want flexibility in their work. They want to know, they don't really like the notion of working overtime. If there's additional work, they like the work-life flexibility. Where some of the people have been, like the older people who work with us, they don't get how good it is, because when they were first getting into the workforce, one, it was fucking hard to get a job in the profession that you wanted, right? Most of the time you had to do unpaid work, or you had to start in a mail room, or, doing a very junior role, whereas right now some people can go from being a graduate into really good professions and really good roles. So like, I think because unemployment's so low and there's so many opportunities, they don't see how hard it was for that generation before just to get into the career that they wanted to do. So like a lot of people, like my more senior team members, they work harder than anyone else, right? Where the younger ones, they like that work-life balance. Don't get me wrong, everyone still works just as hard in terms of when they're here, but I think it's the more senior team members who have been in the workforce for a lot longer, they just want to get shit done a lot more.
So how do you keep promoting that culture? Of everybody making sure that they get shit done.
You just acknowledge it, right? I think it all starts with, culture starts at the top. I used to think it was all a bit of a wank, right? Your values and all this kind of stuff. I just didn't believe that it was true until I learned firsthand how important it is to have, culture isn't words on a wall. It's not Friday night drinks. It's the energy of an office. It's the way people interact. It's the way that people interact when you're not there. It's the values and the conversations that they have within the company. I think that all starts with the standard that I set, because people look at me as the example, right? I need to be the best example of what the best version of our culture is within this company. And that, for instance, it starts with like accountability, something that I love doing. When I fuck up, I put my hand up. I want everyone to know when I make mistakes, because it shows them that it's okay to make mistakes and to own it. If you look over there on that glass, you can see like a gold traffic light.
Yep.
So one of the things that I wanted to implement, my mentor taught me this. We use a traffic light system. So green is good, everything's on track when it comes to our projects. Amber is there could potentially be a risk or an issue in the project, and red means something's gone wrong, or it's about to go wrong and it's gone off track of what our normal project should be like. And we used to have this culture before where if someone made a mistake, they just want to keep it to themselves, like I'll try to figure it out, or they'd hide it. And really all that does is great if you can fix it. Most of the time you can't, and it eventually gets to me, but it's usually a lot worse by the time I find out. But it's out of fear, right? They don't want to do anything wrong. So to change the culture, we said, okay, every time you have a red, you write it down on a post note and you stick it on that traffic light, and then we take them down. We solve those problems once a week. So if it's urgent, we do a heartbeat every day, and they talk about what their reds are. So the challenge is a heartbeat meeting. So it's a stand-up heartbeat meeting. We go around in a circle. We talk about our reds and our greens, and then any red we discuss. And then if I need to fix it in the day, that's what I work on. But then we write them on post-it notes, we put them up in the traffic light system, and then every Thursday we take them down, we categorize them, and then we talk about them as a group, and we find solutions to fixing them for good. So it went from, shit, I've got this problem, I need to fix it myself, to, okay, now we celebrate and we talk about our challenges, and then we figure out how to fix them for good. And then the culture of the company, you wouldn't believe how quick things change. Like how quick things change where people feel comfortable to talk about what's not working in a project. Because I know that everyone who works within this company does not have bad intentions. There's no people where I go, okay, you're being lazy, or you're not doing the right thing, or you're not acting with integrity, which is our most important value. Things just go wrong. People make mistakes. I make mistakes, and that's where the culture starts. Is everyone feels so, I think, liberated here and comfortable, and what it does is it just like puts them on a path of wanting to be better and better and better. Because once you solve those problems and you fix it and everything gets better in here, it's kind of like a snowball, and it starts to grow and grow and grow, and everything starts moving in the right direction as well.
And how do you deal with like office politics?
Don't have any. Call it out straight away.
It's people.
I won't stand for it. I don't do whispers. I don't do drama. I don't do any of that crap. Pull everyone to a room or find out where it comes from. I just say, it's not living our values, right? If someone's upset about something that's happening within the business, come and talk to me. I'll solve it. I'll listen to you and I'll see if there's a solution. If instead you choose to whisper and complain to 5 other people and not to do anything about it, that's not what our values are. And I'll sit that person down and I'll tell them that's not acceptable, because that's what starts some toxicity, and that's what starts in, like, unnecessary drama, I don't just say it, my door is always open. I'll make time for anyone. I'll talk to anyone in this company about any problems that they're having. But if they choose to not come and approach me and I find out that they spend their time instead going to other people and complaining or saying negative things about the business or whatever it might be, I understand some people are fearful to come and talk, but I'm the most understanding person that there is. That's the part where I just want to squash it straight away, because the culture in here is so good. Like, it really is. People come in with so much energy, so much love. Like they love being here. I don't want that to ever be lost.
Fuck, it sounds so good, dude. Well done.
Thanks, man.
Well done.
Appreciate it.
That's a huge thing to achieve.
Yeah.
There's so many places that don't have anything remote to that.
Yeah.
So well done.
And it took a really long time to get there. You know?
Yeah, well, you have to one, be that yourself, which is obviously a growing and learning process to show up every day and be that best self. Because, like, how do you go about dealing with it when you are on a down day?
I think the best thing I ever did was, and it's hard because it needs to happen naturally, was I've got a mentor, right? And he's someone that I respect. And, you know, mentorship isn't like, you know, they teach you how to make more money or better sales or anything like that. Sometimes, like, I call my mentor 90% of the time to tell him about something that has to do with people. Because really, when you're the CEO, as much as people think it's fucking spreadsheets and, like, you know, sitting on a boat somewhere or whatever it might be, you're really dealing with people problems most of the time, either clients or internal staff, whatever it might be. And, you know, you want to know that you're making the right decisions. So he's just been a sounding board, and he's been able to grow his business significantly. He's had, you know, 1,500 staff at one time.
That's huge.
Huge,
oh my
right?
God.
CEO of ASX listed company. And so, you know, when I'm having a bit of and I remember when I'd always call him at the start, I'd call him and be like, what do I do? And he'd talk me through what the right solution is. And I think it's like a muscle in you, right? And you start to be able to make those decisions yourself a lot better. And now
you start getting him in the back of your head going, good, I got the solution.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And now when I call him, I say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm going to do. So I don't ask him for his help, and he'll say, yep, you're either right, or you go, no, maybe do it a bit more like this. I think, you know, that being able to do that, like the most important thing was, I'll be really honest, I used to have, and I sometimes still do, have a fear of conflict. And it stems from me more as a kid than me in here.
As all personality traits do.
Yeah. So, you know, I would avoid having hard conversations with team members at times, or to avoid, you know, dealing with the problem then and there. And I'd let it kind of marinate and become bigger in my head. And that's probably the biggest thing that's caused so much benefit in the company and really helped the company culture, is people know I just don't stand for shit anymore. Like, I'll if there's something wrong or someone's upset or whatever it might be, I'll squash it then and there. I'll figure it out. And that is another muscle, right? To deal with conflict then and there, and not to go, I just can't be fucked dealing with this. I'll just leave it for tomorrow. Like, the quicker you get on top of your problems, they stop being as big. And the more you train yourself to just deal with things on the spot, the better you are for it as well. And I think he's done two things. One is how to deal with conflict in terms of the right decisions to make, but then kind of call me out when I'm not doing it as well. Like, you know, I know that if I called him and said, this happened yesterday, he'd be like, why didn't you deal with it then? Right? It's accountability is a part of the process as well.
Sounds like you're dealing it more with, like, you have a spider on your arm.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and then you know, you think like I said, integrity is so important to me. There isn't any integrity by avoiding conflict. And I think once that kind of clicked within me, I was like, I can't go on and shy away from my problems. I need to deal with them then and there.
That's cool. That's very cool. Good on you.
Yeah. And
in terms of integrity, what does integrity mean to you?
I think it's obviously doing the right thing, right? At the most basic version, to me, it's doing the right thing and acting with integrity.
Yeah, okay. So it's a moral code.
It's like, you know, like I said, there's so many opportunities in our process, and it's so good because everyone here lives with integrity, like all my team does. So if I try to do something shit, I know that they'll judge me for it. If I go, I'll lie to the client and tell them that it's on its way, but it's not really on its way. Or tell them the price is this, but we actually get it for this, and we make, you know, all those things. Like, I don't think they're acting with integrity. And once the bar is set within there, every decision everyone makes in here knows that it needs to be made with integrity, right? So if I step down, I'm not here for the day, I know that the decisions that people would make in here live by our values. And I think that's incredibly important. So it's not just about, you know, doing the right thing for the sake of it. It's living that and making sure that everyone in the business knows where I stand and what I would say is acceptable or not. And, you know, I'm really lucky where, you know, everyone here, like they really do want to do the right thing. And that, again, it came down to hiring the right people who care about the culture of the company. And don't get me wrong, there's another set of values that are on that wall just there. And those just next to the kitchen there.
Oh, yeah. Critical thinking, open and respectful, driven and proactive.
So those are the values that we hire and fire. So you can't be driven and a critical thinker, but not open and respectful, because then you'd be vindictive, or you might, you know, work by yourself, or, you know, not have integrity in your decisions. So those are the values that I set for everyone who works in here. And sometimes we've hired people and that won't even last 2 weeks because they don't live our values. You know, they don't share those values. They might be, you know, someone who means well, but they can't live to the values of the company. I think we've done a really good job of setting what the framework is, and then everyone here living by it, that if someone comes in and they're not, I guess, the Sourcey culture, they just stand out.
And in terms of like having that, or those like procedures, if you will, as a function operating without you there, have you had to write all down, like kind of like, here's the kind of like lay of the land for the types of things we often deal with, or you haven't been there yet? Or,
I mean, I can step away. Like I go away to Colombia in 2 weeks for about 3 or 4 weeks. Good luck trying to reach me over there. I've got a friend who lives in New York, and he just said he's got a security company there, and he said, if you want to come over, come, I'm going to go through these dates. And I thought, why not? Like, you know, I wanted 5 years doing this. I've taken very few holidays. The last few years, especially the last year and this year, is my year to kind of travel and enjoy life a bit more, where before I've been a slave to this place. I loved every minute of it, but I haven't, you know, I went to China for work and that was it. I didn't go on holidays, didn't do really much else. So I want to enjoy it a little bit.
You couldn't here either.
Yeah, that part as well. Couldn't go anywhere. So, so you know, I'm taking opportunities this year to kind of take a step back. And I think I've built a team in a way where they can operate without me. I think there's always going to be stuff that falls on my plate, but I don't want to scale myself back and have an autonomous business. I kind of like being in the day-to-day. I love the energy of it. I love helping making decisions and getting involved. But I need to be able to build in a way where I can step back and I know that things won't fall apart. And
so you can work on the business.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think also people love stepping up. You know, people love, like, if you go away, they want to prove themselves because people want progression, right? Like, very few people, especially, that's the one thing I'll say about the next generation though as well. They want to get as fast to the top as possible, right? They want to progress. They want to see their career progress. So opportunities where I go away, if I come back and someone's done a fucking kick-ass job and everything's gone well and, you know, they've done their delivery really well, like, yeah, you notice that, right? It gives you confidence in your team. We had an opportunity with a multi-billion-dollar brand come through, and it's only a small job with them, but I used to be involved in everything, right? And this inquiry came through, and then next thing you know, I'm just getting updates. They presented pricing, they've done all this stuff. Like 6 months ago, nothing would happen without me having to kind of make it happen within the business. Now it's like, they're like, we've got it. Like, leave it to us. I'm just proud as punch. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to have to be on top of everything to make sure that it went well. Now I'm just getting updates and saying, yeah, it went really well. They're going to sign. They're going to do this. This is what's going to happen. Like, I could never imagine having that. And that's why sometimes it isn't like, you know, putting in all the processes and procedures. It's having the right talent, them understanding what their roles are, them wanting to kind of take on that responsibility so you can take a step back. That creates the environment for me to feel comfortable to go away for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, it's cool.
Nothing but like admiration for that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's really
enjoyable.
cool. It's goals. I just want to quickly touch on Colombia though,
yeah,
because it looks like a sick place, and I've seen like all these architecture, like real estate people go like, look what you can get in Colombia, and it's like $800,000, and what you'd find here for like 10 million. You're like, oh my god. So where are you going in Colombia?
Medellin.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're starting. We're there for about 4 nights or 5 nights, and then we head to Miami for 3 or 4 days, and then go to New York for a few days, and then come back. So just a lot of travel. It takes like 30 hours to get there. So, and if you're going to go that far, you want to stay for a decent period of time as well.
Oh, 100%. Dude.
But yeah, I'm excited. Like, I haven't been before, and I think it's going to be a bit of fun.
You going to like the Amazon? Is it Amazon?
I think
link up with Colombia.
Yeah, I think. Well, I actually have no idea what we've got planned. Damien, who I'm going with, like I said, he's got a security company there. So
Like as in security, like human security?
yeah, human security.
Yeah.
Because he owns a business in New York, or he did a software company, and that's where he'd have his retreats. So I think he knows the land quite well, and I'm sure he knows it's my first time, so I'm sure he was probably planned a few fun activities for us for a few days. Yeah,
that's cool. And are you like, yeah, I don't know how to explain this, but like what you typically see is like new age, San Francisco CEO, like, yeah, let's go to the Amazon and do like ayahuasca ceremonies and stuff.
I was talking to someone about Burning Man. I don't like that side. I don't know. Like I'm always open to like trying new things and being open-minded. I think, I'm not probably that typical kind of CEO. Like I never went to university, for instance, and I'm not like and I'll be super honest. I went to a networking dinner like Tuesday night. There's a lot of smart people in the room, a lot of tech guys, but they're just like, they live and breathe. And like, I can't fucking, and if they watch this, I mean this in the nicest way, but I just can't talk to them for too long because it's too, what do you do and how do you do it? And this is what I do and this is what I'm from and this is the solution and the world's this big problem and I'm going to fix it. And it's like, it's almost like rah-rah. And
yeah,
I like doing this. I was like that at the start of my business, right? I was like, Source is going to change the world and everything else. And we've done some amazing stuff. We've won some awards. We've really helped some businesses, but I've almost like, I drank the Kool-Aid at the start in terms of like entrepreneurship and being so full on. And now I'm just like, I'm grateful that I've got a good business. I'm grateful that I've got a great team. I'm grateful that I've got an amazing business partner and clients and that side. And now I want to continue to grow Sourcey to be a really great company. I don't think it's going to change the world in the way that I first thought it was going to, which is, me being honest with myself. And I just want to enjoy life and experience some other stuff now as well. So
what kind of things are on your bucket list?
Travel is definitely up there. I want to learn the piano. So I'm getting piano lessons at the moment as well. I've been given the opportunity to do some speaking spots as well for seminars and everything else coming up. And I want to build my own personal brand and develop in that way. They announced the new sharks for Shark Tank, and I was devastated I didn't get a call.
Yeah, fair. Did you put your hand up to do it?
Not at all. But I was talking to someone the other, like a month before, they've been like, I'm going to pitch for them to bring back Shark Tank. I'm like, it's a great idea.
And then they did it.
They did it without me. To be honest, I don't have a profile or anything. And I'm probably not at the level of the people that are in there as well. But I want to be able to get there. Like I want to be able to use my personal brand for good and to potentially help others as well. But
as like a knowledge sharing exercise of what you've been able to learn, or like,
that's all it is. When knowledge, it's funny because I could go and mentor someone now and I think I could provide a lot of great value. But I'm mentored, right? And then it's like, you don't know if my mentor's mentored, right? So it's like, really you're just passing down knowledge to someone who knows just a little bit less than you. And all you're really doing as well is you're talking from experience. I worry about business coaches and consultants who've never run a business before. It's like, how the fuck do you know how to deal with staff problems? Which is 80% of the problems once you get to a certain size. Like you don't. You're just trying to solve or talk or provide value. And I think, I would love to eventually get to the point where I have more time that I can mentor a few people. Just because, and like my mentor says as well, he comes into my business and he goes, I like helping you because it makes me look at my business differently because the problems that you have sometimes are relative to what I do. I think that's really important as well. It's like almost like, we talk about using a muscle, that's a muscle there, looking at and solving someone else's business problems because you might actually get something valuable out of it that you take to your business as well.
Yeah, and there's probably like a level of detachment that assists you in seeing it newly.
Yeah, exactly right. Like when you can't see the trees from the forest or the forest from the trees.
Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. This is cut out.
So dropping some gold though.
You are dropping gold, dude. Let me just see if it works and then. Oh, it's just overheated. It's back.
Overheated?
Yeah, because it's not a video camera.
That's right. Not allowed.
But we've got.
What's the price difference between that and a video camera?
Thousands.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
To get a good one. That's the plan next because I personally started doing marketing because my like journey was like did a bachelor of business, major marketing because I saw that like I love creating things.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, what's the difference between someone that creates something and then someone that makes it work? It's like, oh, somebody actually exposure, like getting it out there to people. So I was like, all right, let me learn that. And then I can do whatever the hell I want in life.
Yeah.
So I've been developing that muscle, which has been good because I think, but then I did the degree and I was like, fuck, dude, I don't know any skills.
Yeah.
Like I have these ideas, but I don't know how to film. So I don't know how to actually do the things that you need to do. So then I started learning all this content creation skill, learning ads.
How'd you learn? Just online? Or just through trial
doing
and error?
it. Yeah, I just started doing it. And then as I started doing things, I then was like a jack of all trades doing marketing freelance for businesses. And then I was like, they're like, oh, and I was like, all right, we need to do this other thing. So then I'll learn how to do that and then do it. And it was like I was getting to get paid to learn. It's a good thing to do.
It is.
And look, you charge appropriately to do that.
Yeah,
I'm not charging $100 an hour at that time.
Yeah.
No, but you're learning lots. And I like the Andrew Carnegie idea of like first third of your life you spend learning as much as possible.
Yep.
Second third, you build as much wealth as possible. And the last third, you like be as generous as possible.
I like that. Yeah. I feel like I'm naturally kind of in that stage at the moment.
Yeah.
Trying to anyway.
Well, you've learned clearly.
Yeah, I've learned a bit. Yeah, I learned more than I ever thought I would as well.
Yeah. And you've obviously been rewarded handsomely.
Yeah, it's somewhat successful.
How big is this company, if you're willing to share? Like, what does it look like to have a company that has, 30 staff here and 20 staff overseas?
Yeah.
Like,
revenues in the multiple tens of millions in Sourci, and then the other subsidiaries in the millions as well, which is like pretty cool to think that we're generating that much, even though revenue's a vanity number. I mean, the staff part's really good, but we've been bigger, and sometimes my mentor calls out my shit and he goes, why do you want so much staff? And for me, it's like an ego thing. I'm like, I love just, I want an office floor that's 2,000 square feet and it's got 500 people in it. That's for some reason I just care about that. Sometimes it's not good though, because every time you add staff, it gets more expensive. So
yeah, when there's like middle management issues that you got to like.
We had that as well, right? Yeah,
it becomes a bureaucracy.
Exactly.
Actually, how did you deal with middle management issues? Because that's like the issue that plagues nations.
It's not that hard to actually figure out. So you hire people because they're meant to do a role, right? But what you need to have within your business before you put anyone in there to separate you from, let's say, your teams is accountability and visibility. So accountability is, keeping people accountable to what they should be doing, and visibility is being able to see if they are doing what they're doing. So I'll give you a really good example. I had a manager who would tell me every day everything's all good. And the same day I'd get a client emailing me saying I want a refund. So, there's I haven't heard from this, or this is taking longer than I thought. And then maybe someone would resign, an account manager. I'd be like, how the fuck is everything good if I get a complaint every day or every second day and people are resigning? And we had really bad turnover. And that's when my mentor came in. He goes, you don't have accountability or visibility. He goes, you're just believing everything this person says. I was like, all right. And I do this now still. So every week there's notes left on each project of what they're up to, so someone can read through them. But anyone can write a note, right? An account manager could say, I spoke to Dave. Dave's really happy. He's about to place an order. Dave really hasn't heard from this person for 2 weeks. He's pissed off. Things aren't working. It's taken a lot longer than he thought. He's been lied to. Samples, they came wrong, whatever it might be. I call Dave. I call our clients. I just randomly call them now, and the team knows that I do, and I check in. I say, how's your experience going? If they tell me their experience is anything other than what's in those notes in the system, they're going to hear about it. There's going to be accountability for it.
So you do like random sampling.
Yeah, so you want to verify two sources of data, right? You're going to have what someone tells you, and then you're going to find out for yourself if it's true. So middle management, if they're doing their job properly, you tell them, I'm going to speak to the team. I'm going to make sure that you're doing a good job. I'm going to call our clients and make sure that what you're telling me is true as well. And if they're not living, and all they're doing is living your values, I don't expect as well for middle management to make sure nothing ever goes wrong. But it's about how to deal with things when they go wrong, how to take accountability, and how to live our values. And once we put that framework in place and they were accountable, the right people stay and the wrong people move on. And I think that's the most important thing,
Because they get caught out, right?
Exactly right. That's it, and it doesn't take long. You put the spotlight, and I turned over pretty much my full middle management team for that reason. They all had good intentions when they came on, but they didn't live our values. They cared about their position more than what was best for the company. So they would hide their failures and try to cover things up. And again, I did a bad job of managing that. Like the most important, if anyone's watching this and they're a business owner, the most important thing you need to remind yourself is any problem that ever happens in your business, doesn't matter if someone else causes it, it's always your fault. You're responsible for everything within your business. If I hired that middle manager and they lied to me and I allowed that to happen, that's my fault, right? So all the accountability, and that's why it's so important, it starts and stops with me. So creating that framework of people knowing that they can't just randomly write shit into the note system, or they can't tell me the client's happy and then I find out they're not. That's the values of the company. That's the culture of the company as well. So once you have your middle management on board and living those values, that's how you can build that trust. And then even if they're being there for a year, I still call our clients. Doesn't matter, because they could have one bad month where something goes wrong, or they need to buy a house and they're waiting to get approved for a loan and they don't want anything to come back negatively in case I might let them be fired, whatever else. You don't ever want that because people, things change within their life as well. And it's all about having integrity in what you do and creating accountability and visibility. And that was one of the best things we ever did for our business.
Fuck yeah, dude. Sick. Such good knowledge.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And in terms of obviously you'll be making money. How are you going about diversifying assets, or are you even are you getting into real estate? Are you getting into shares? Are you trying to
crypto? No.
I don't know. You might.
How to lose money? No, we definitely have. We've played around. The thing is, once you get to a certain size, and you have a personal brand or a little bit of a personal brand, people come to you with opportunities, right?
They know you got money.
Exactly right. And at the end of the day, everyone, some of them are good deals, some of them are bad. I mean, we invested a bit of money into stocks and crypto. We made a bit of money out of that, but that wasn't a real kind of commitment. The investments that we make now, they need to be pretty autonomous, right? So they can't be something that takes Ali and I's time, because we just don't have that much more to give. So for instance, we've got Sourci, which I run. Then we've got Procon, and then we've got ProBoard. So ProBoard's just starting this month, and it's got about 2 or 3 employees. One of the employees runs it the same setup as Sam running Procon.
Yeah.
And they actually share the same warehouse, which is really good. So that's kind of our appetite in terms of businesses that we want to own and operate. What's been really good is, we've got a good network now where we've been brought deals. For instance, we've bought a large position in a commercial office building, which will be rezoned and redeveloped, which will be hopefully a really good return on investment for us. And then there's investment syndicates that will put money into that, again, yield better returns than let's say 9% or whatever it might be.
That's great.
Yeah, exactly right. 20 to 30% per annum returns, which for us, it works really well, because we can't give up more than that. In commercial property, it's a little bit risky, but it's nowhere near as, investing in 10 startups.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, commercials it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Return on investments are great. Commercial is definitely the space to be in.
It's a lot safer.
Well, residential it's safe as hell, but your return on investment is nowhere near the same.
I think eventually we'll start developing our own properties, because we've got such good relationships with builders through Procon, but then we're importing the flooring, the cabinetry, the flooring, the joinery, and the windows. We build 8 townhouses. We might save $300,000-$400,000 by doing that ourselves. That might be the profit someone's happy to walk away from. So we, on top of whatever the value of developing it will be as well, we could make some really great returns doing that. But right now it's
it's a whole nother
it's just
beast to tackle.
You're just kind of getting through the days at the moment, but it's exciting. I'm really grateful where I'm at the point where, and I hope whoever listens to this, you get to this point as well, where now it's not about survival, it's about opportunities, right? And for the first 2.5 years of our business, Ali and I didn't pay ourselves. We didn't take a cent from the company. We had maybe 4 or 5 staff who'd work out of my kitchen, right? But we didn't pay ourselves. Everything was survival. And when we did, we started paying ourselves $600 a week. And there was so many moments where I thought, is this going to work, or is it going to, implode in itself? And there was a lot of times where it almost did happen, right? A lot of times.
What would happen that it almost would implode on you?
COVID was a scary one, everything stopped, all our leads stopped, and we just moved into an office in South Yarra. Finally moved out of the house and into an office in South Yarra.
And then you get the lease. And then,
3-year lease. We were painting the walls. We literally picked up secondhand furniture from real estate companies. We got in there, and it was pretty much the weekend we could move in. Dan Andrews announced the lockdown, And our office was opposite South Yarra Station. South Yarra Station in Melbourne is one of the busiest train stations there is. And it went from seeing, thousands of people commute to no one. And I turned to him, I said, fuck, what are we going to do now? And all the leads stopped coming through. I'm like,
yeah, because they were unsure, right?
Yeah. And, it's not like we had sick cash flow. Like we had enough to cover costs for 2 or 3 months. And that means us not taking anything. But one of the cool things that came from it was our inquiries went from working with startups to supplying masks and gowns. And we did some really cool deals with the government, not the government, indirectly with the government supplying PPE. But some of those deals that were worth $15, $20 million, they almost fell over like 10 times.
Yeah, I know someone that had that happen and it did fall over.
Yeah. There was so much money to be made at that one point. And we only got a really small part of it, but it set us up for what we have now. But at the same time, it was like the most stressful fucking moments of our lives where we were, playing with, millions of dollars worth of stock, trying to supply, high quality medical equipment with no background in this, just because we had the team in China and we could get to the factories and people were willing to give us the work because they couldn't do it themselves. So there's so many times where it's like, if that deal didn't come through or we fucked up, we would have been done. And I think like that's where now I wouldn't say I'm a real risk taker as a person. I love just saying, fuck it, let's see, and we'll figure it out later. But now when you've got what you want and everything, as in beautiful office, great team, business that does well, you start to become more risk averse. You don't have the same appetite because you have a lot more to lose.
There's a good Travis song about that.
Yeah.
Travis Scott song.
Is that really?
It's called Lose.
Lose? Yeah.
And the chorus is literally, I got shit to lose. That shit makes me nervous.
It is like that, right? It's legit like that. So once you get to that point, it's like you become a lot more grateful for what you have, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you can lose it.
Yeah, you want to be a bit more calculated.
Exactly right.
And you obviously have the means in the team to be able to calculate.
Exactly right.
Go, is this a good choice?
I think the real professionals at what they do, like my head of production, she just knows where all the risks are and where things can go wrong. That's so valuable, right? Because I can go out and find the deal or get the opportunity. If we can't deliver against it or we don't know where the pitfalls are, that's where all the risk is now within our business.
Yeah, fair. Oh, man. Just so much good knowledge and go in my head. I'm like, dude, I fucking love learning about this. This is great.
Yeah, hopefully it was helpful.
It is.
Yeah, good.
Definitely. Like, I feel like anybody on their business pursuit, like you say it in such like a matter of fact, authentic way, but it's like, yeah, we really had to deal with some hard times.
Yeah.
And, you show that you were able to just lean on team.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's such a big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like being able to lean and trust on a team that you've built. And because that you've had to solve what a good team looks like and what a bad team looks like.
Yeah. And it's a hard lesson to learn. But even if you're not at that point, I do recommend finding or creating a network. If you don't have a mentor, if you don't have a team, but you're still facing the same problems, for me, like I need someone to talk them through and to figure out what the right decision is, because I'll give you a really good resource of what you can do if you are alone on this journey, but you want to be around people to help you make some of those choices or help you. When we first got started, there was an advisory board set up. So you'd pay a fee per month. I think it was about $1,300. And one Friday every month, you'd go into the city and you were allocated a board. So you wouldn't change boards. You'd be on this one board. And on the board are other business owners who pay to be there. Then there's one accountant and one lawyer. And then there's a chairman of the board. And every quarter, you talk about a different topic. So you talk about maybe people and culture. You talk about revenue. You might talk about sales. And then there's always a guest speaker who comes and they talk about a particular topic as well. It might be someone who's ex-military and they talk about the importance of regiment in the workplace, whatever it might be. They put on a bit of food as well. And but you get in there and it's just other business owners having the exact same problems as you. And there might be one person. That's where I met my mentor. He was actually on my board. And I was really like, we went there and we only had like $8,000 in our account. This thing cost $1,300. I said to him, I don't think this is a good idea. I'd rather pay myself $1,300. He goes, no, we're going to do this. Best thing I ever did, right? We eventually had to stop because we got so busy. But, you'd be there.
And you got the mentor.
And I got the mentor, right?
I got it.
It paid itself off for sure. But you'd be there and you listen to people's problems. And, we were so green at that time. A lot of people's problems still revolved around team and staff and everything like that. But you're hearing their problems, and the problems aren't that different to you, but one person's already been through it and they already know how to solve it. And all of a sudden you're there, and so everyone goes around the room, everyone gets a chance to talk, and you get up and you're talking, and people are kind of calling out your bullshit first, because you lie to yourself more than anyone else, especially in business. I do. I'm extremely optimistic. I'll tell myself things are better than what they are because I don't want to admit the truth, and I'm trying to get better at that. And also I like being positive. I like seeing the best of what something can be.
But you also need to be like, what's the worst what's the worst outcomes here that could happen, and actually you address
set
it.
the worst, and then and then if anything that beats that, you're happy with it, exceeds.
I mean, that's a huge paradigm shift to remain positive and with that outlook that you already have, and to also do that, because it's like two minds at once.
You're just protecting yourself by being like that, right? Really, you're helping yourself in the end. But yeah, you have some accountability gets created within that room, but also you do get support. You end up talking to these people outside of that room, right? So you end up building this network of other business owners who are on the same journey as you. They might be in a completely different industry, right? You might be in advertising or marketing, and you're speaking to someone who runs, car dealerships, or accounting practices, or whatever it might be. And they might be some people like in the board. They try to make the boards quite diverse, where one person might have 50 staff and $20 million in revenue, and there might be someone who's doing $1 million a year, you know what I mean? Or even less. So it's you get so much different perspectives, you build some really good relationships, and sometimes the more senior people in there, they're almost there to it's most of the time it's solo founders because they don't have anyone to talk to. But sometimes the more senior ones are there just because they love the interaction and how to kind of mentor people in a way where they don't feel like they're mentoring someone as well.
Yeah, it's like, it's got its dose.
Yeah.
It's not more or less.
Yeah, exactly right. So I recommend, I think the one that we went to was called Couragio, and I know they have boards in every city. So, if someone's out there and they're wanting to know kind of how to build a network and be able to kind of bounce ideas or be accountable, that's definitely where I'd go. For the investment it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, beauty. We have something similar in Adelaide called Business SA, but they actually, from what I've seen, they divide people into, are you a small business, medium business? Like
there's a bit of that still in Couragio. Like some people will only want to be on a board with bigger size businesses, which I understand as well. Sometimes you don't want to listen to the problem of the.
Yeah, well, it's like going to a council meeting, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't want to hear about it, Karen.
Keep it to yourself.
I don't care about your fence and your tree. Like
I got bigger fish to fry.
Trying to do a property development here.
It's actually dead set. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, beauty. Well, thank you, Giovanni.
More than welcome.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Appreciate your honesty, your just transparency.
Good.
It's good. I think there's a lot for people to learn.
Good. I'm glad.
It sounds like you got some really exciting things you're moving into, both that they're going to keep growing, but then also just cool horizons.
I'm at the fun part of the journey. I think the part where you get to enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah, well, you freed up a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing in life. If you don't own your time, you can't afford your time.
Yeah.
You're not free.
Exactly right.
And now you can.
Yeah. I feel free.
Yeah, that's good. What does it feel like?
Yeah. Less stressful, I think. I think just you feel you can start to prioritize yourself again. Sometimes everything else suffers in terms of your mental health, your wellness. Right now, I'm investing in making sure that I'm around for a lot longer. So
what does that look like for you?
Like making sure I'm taking the right diet, supplements, exercise is really important.
What are you doing in that?
Body fit most days.
Yeah.
Running.
Is that like is that kind of like
F45?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then even I'm gonna go get a facial at 4 p.m. I like it. I want to feel
acid
good.
peel.
Bit of that, yeah, exactly right. So I'm just trying to take care of myself the best that I can. Because I look back and there are times where you look like you're worn out, and I've had some people say to me where you can tell when times have been a bit stressful. So now's the time where I can just enjoy it and take care of myself.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All good.
You've been listening to Watch Your Voyage. Like, subscribe, leave a review. It makes a big difference, and just share it with your friends. This is a knowledge sharing exercise. So thank you.
Cool.